Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm meteorologist Jamie Martin. I want to give you the latest on what's going on with Hurricane Ida. Boy, Ida already today changed a lot since earlier today as it was moving through the Cayman Islands and heading over towards Cuba. Suddenly began to erupt up itself a little bit more. You can kind of see that wrap around the center of circulation. So now we're dealing with already a stronger hurricane instead of a tropical storm, and we could be looking at more strengthening. In fact, some rapid strengthening as Ida actually gets into the Gulf of Mexico with all of that warm water for it to work with. So we are talking about one you have got to watch because this is going to be a dangerous storm as it moves its way into the Gulf of Mexico. Looking at our app, keep this thing happy, keep it handy, and you will be happy if you do that because of the fact that this will tell you exactly what's going on. Let's go and show you what's going on right now. In fact, with what's going on with Ida. Ida right now, the winds are now up to 80 miles per hour. So again, it's already increased just a little bit. Again, it's heading into the western parts here of Cuba though. So it's not going to change a whole lot right now because the center of circulation is going to go over the land. And that means it's really not going to be able to eat off of all that warm water as it moves over the western parts of Cuba. But it will be enjoying some very warm water, unfortunately, once it does make it off in the Gulf of Mexico. Let me get you a little bit closer and show you this and talk a little bit more about what we're looking at. Again, moving to the northwest at about 15 miles per hour, not exceedingly fast. It's not going 25 or 30 miles per hour, so not going super fast, but it's also not crawling. Sometimes these things will be going, say, northwest at 5 miles per hour, but it is going an average 15 miles per hour. So it gives us a chance to keep an eye on it, but it is getting closer rather quickly. So you want to make your plans if you are especially checking us out from the northern parts of the Gulf of Mexico. You have got to watch this one. This one is going to be a dangerous storm, as I mentioned. And again, winds right now are only 80 miles per hour, expecting much higher winds though. I am going to show you those winds in just a moment. First though, I do want to get you a little bit closer and show you what we're talking about as far as where it is right now and talk about the winds here. You can see the winds, these greens and blues and purples. Basically that spin, that is Ida moving its way over Cuba right now, and it's moving its way off towards the northwest. So again, this is the path right now. Not going to take very long before it makes its way back into the Gulf of Mexico, as I mentioned, in that warm water, and moves its way off towards the northwest. And look what's to the northwest. Unfortunately, that would be the United States here, especially around the Gulf Coast, anywhere from Louisiana back to Florida's Panhandle, all the way over towards Texas coast. All of this could be under problem, but this is what we're looking at right now. In fact, let's take a look right now at WSI. I want to show you a little better picture here, a little moving picture here of what Ida's been doing during the daytime hours today. As I mentioned, boy, when it was moving through the Cayman Islands, yeah, it was definitely a tropical storm, and you could see that, but boy, really beginning to get its act together as it's moving its way towards Cuba here, and that's why all of a sudden it went from a regular tropical storm all of a sudden to a hurricane rather quickly. And now it's beginning to kind of shrink a little bit as this is moving over Cuba because it's not over that warm water right now. You'll be able to see that in just a second. You can see how dark and how large that wind field is, but it's now beginning to get a little bit smaller. But here's what we're looking at. Here's what I want to show you. You have got to see this if you are sitting there wondering whether, maybe I won't even look at this. Yeah, you want to look at this because basically what we're talking about here is tomorrow afternoon, 2 p.m. at the bottom of your screen here. Check it out. Not a category 1, not a category 2, but looking at possibly a category 3 by then. This is what we're looking at. Look at 120 mile per hour winds. That is already a dangerous hurricane. It's still well out in the Gulf of Mexico. That's the good news. It's not on land yet. This is going to be Saturday. If you're viewing us or checking us out, watching us here from Louisiana, if you have not made your plans, if you don't have them together yet, if you have not gotten out and picked up your supplies, you got to do it tomorrow. You don't have any other choice. There's not going to be a Sunday for you. This is a Saturday thing. Saturday is what you have to do. You have got to get your plans in order, get ready for a rather large, dangerous storm, depending on exactly where it does land. There are never any guarantees with hurricanes. They can move at the last moment, so we have to watch this very carefully. But better safe than sorry. If you are in Louisiana, get your stuff together right now. Because here's what I want to show you past there. Look up near Louisiana. Look at the category. No, that's not even a category 3. This is category 4, possibly, not guaranteed, possibly a category 4 here. We are talking huge. Katrina, anybody? Think about how bad that was. That's what we could be looking at, possibly, as we work our way into Sunday. And this is Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock Central Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Time. If you're checking us out, again, Louisiana, you are in Central Time, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Look how close it is already, and that's what we're looking at right now. Possibly moving onshore about 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the afternoon, somewhere there along the Louisiana coast as a Category 4. Lots of problems, and it's not exactly where the center of circulation is. Yes, that's where some of the worst winds are going to be. However, these winds are going to extend so far out, because when you're talking about a Category 4 hurricane, we're not talking about a small Category 1 like we've been looking at lately, or even tropical storms that we've seen lately that are very small as far as the winds. They don't extend out very far. These are going to extend extremely far, especially for the folks that are going to be over to the east of the center of circulation. So anywhere from parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, doesn't matter which state you're in or what it's called, Louisiana, Mississippi, Mobile, Alabama, the Bay right there, going to be a huge problem. Pensacola, you're going to see problems all the way up towards, say all the way over towards Big Bend here of Florida. Going to see some problems out there, that's for sure. So here's again what we're looking at. So this is the pathway this is the path that we're looking at right now as far as that is concerned. Here's a look right now at one of our models here and showing exactly what we're looking at as far as the models are concerned. But again, these are computer models. They're not guarantees. These are models, and that's why I'm telling you, just have to pay attention to what's going on here. No matter whether you're in New Orleans or whether you're in Pensacola, got to keep an eye on this. Even over towards Houston, most likely not going to make it that far over to the west, but I still want you to pay attention to what's going on here. But again, this could be making its way just off to the southwest of New Orleans and then right past New Orleans after that. Let's talk about the amount of warm water that we have. Check out the water that we have in these locations. Nearly 90-degree waters in some locations. An immense amount of very warm, and that's what water, and that is why we're expecting a rapid intensification quickly to a Category 3 and even getting up to a 4 possibly as it's approaching possibly the coastal sections of Louisiana, because there's that much hot water out there. It's an amazing amount of hot water, so it's going to act just like fuel for this as it moves its way closer, and that's why it's going to be a big problem. Let's go ahead and take a look a little bit closer towards the area that's possibly under the gun for this, and that's going to be around Baton Rouge here. And again, we're not talking about things being affected right now, not being affected whatsoever, but this is the area that has to really be paying attention and getting ready for possibly a devastating hurricane moving in here within the next 36 hours or so. So we got to watch this very carefully. So this is what we're watching right now. Also looking at the same thing, and that's going to be over here towards the state of Florida, Pensacola, all the way back over towards Mexico Beach. Mexico Beach has really gotten hit lately over the last few years by hurricanes. And again, this will still give you problems. Even if you're not under the gun directly for the center of circulation, still going to see the bands. Those bands are brutal when they're talking about, especially Category 4 hurricane. When you're talking about the bands, those bands get really, really mean on the east side of the center of circulation. So even though it may make landfall right in Louisiana, could see some big problems. In fact, let me go back over to the app if you don't mind, Matt, because I do want to show everybody what I'm talking about here as we get a little bit closer here. Again, center of circulation taking you just over to the west and southwest of New Orleans. So again, huge problems, tornadoes possible, plenty of huge problems with the waters, especially around the lakes there, Lake Pontchartrain. Really going to see some huge problems there. Could we see a devastating problem? You never know. That's why you got to take your precautions and be sure. But even if not, we're talking if that's where the exact landfall is, what we're looking at here is the problems that we're going to be looking the winds coming in smack dab, as you can see, coming straight in from the Gulf of Mexico right into the coastal sections here. Mobile, Alabama. Perfect little area, unfortunately, for all of that water to back up and cause minor flooding or major flooding, possibly back in Mobile. Again, that's going to be a huge problem for those folks. So even if they're not directly under the warning there for the hurricane itself, you're going to be dealing with the surge. The surges not coming out quite yet. In fact, they should be out pretty soon. Actually, they might be out right now. Let me just scroll up 1 second here and see what kind of surges that we're looking at. And again, for Lake Pontchartrain, we're looking at 4 to 7 feet right now. We're looking at 7 to 11 feet. That's 7 to 11 feet, and that's going to be over in the Mobile, Alabama. So about 2 to 4 from Mobile, Alabama right now. But you get just outside of that, 4 to 7 feet, 7 to 11 feet up around New Orleans. And on the other side of New Orleans, a little bit closer to the smack dab center of circulation that I was just pointing out to you, basically that center of circulation, if it does make it right there in that general area, they're looking at right now a 10 to 15 foot storm surge. That is not a joke. That is devastating for areas 10 to 15 feet. And again, that's going to be a huge problem, and that extends all the way through parts of Louisiana. And again, what I'm talking about is possibly seeing some problems all the way back towards the state of Florida. So again, this is a really, really dangerous storm, and that's going to be the big problem that we see in those locations. So again, let me go back to WSI in just a second. Let me load this back up for you one more time. And I do want to show you what the center of circulation looks like right now. Again, back at WSI, Matt, again, this is during the afternoon on Sunday. Again, this is 2 days away. We're talking about Sunday, possibly making that devastating curve right into parts of Louisiana, right to the southwest of New Orleans itself. And this is the big problem. And it will be dying off in terms of intensity, down to about a category 1, as it looks like, by the time we roll into Monday during the overnight hours. But boy, still going to cause a lot of problems out there. So again, this is what we're looking at as the problem being. We're talking about a storm that right now is still a category 1. It's still moving over Cuba. However, as it makes its way again back in towards the sections there, coastal sections of Cuba, as it gets offshore, it's going to start to encounter that really warm water as it gets into the Gulf of Mexico. Even warmer water is sitting right smack dab in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. That's why we're expecting it to accelerate all the way up to about a category 3 and eventually possibly a category 4 as it makes its way towards a little bit closer towards Louisiana. And again, this is not a guarantee. We're not saying it's definitely going to hit exactly where this projection is. However, it is, all the models are pretty much the same, going about the same, somewhere around Louisiana, somewhere around New Orleans. So again, this is a very dangerous storm. This is not a joke. This is not a tropical storm / minor hurricane. It's nothing like they saw up in Connecticut last week. And boy, I tell you what, if you're looking at what happened, up there, Henri itself, yes, it was a storm you had to watch very carefully. A lot of people did. I'm very happy with how many people actually stay tuned. They watched us all the time, seeing what was going on. I was working that weekend. So I was very happy to see Henri basically fizzle out very, very quickly and basically fall apart. This does not look like that is what's going to happen here. We are talking about a rather strong storm. It's going to hold together, and it's going to cause a lot of problems. So again, this is one of those ones you have to watch out for. In fact, I remember working with Katrina. I was not working there. I was not living there. Unfortunately, I was forecasting for it and watching it and seeing exactly what it was doing. And unfortunately, this is something that can happen once again. We could see some problems with the surge. We can have all that water sitting over Lake Pontchartrain. We could have it having problems again with all those levees in there. Some of those levees have been reinforced, and that's good news. That's great that they put a lot into it. That's not a guarantee that it wouldn't fail, though, again. So again, a lot of people are going to be possibly evacuated. Again, that's probably going on right now. I'm going to have to check on that, and we're going to be talking more, especially during the day, about it tomorrow, because if there are evacuations, people are going to be evacuating as quickly as possible. If you are in the position where you have nothing better to do tomorrow or even tonight, and you live over in New Orleans, why not take this time to head off and take a long weekend somewhere way off to the west or way off to the northeast? You want to get out of what's going on, because right now things could be a huge problem. And again, we're going to be talking about evacuations, and we're going to talk about dangerous conditions here all the way up until starting off tomorrow and continuing all the way through Sunday night. And again, a lot of those problems are going to be what we're talking about. Let me go scroll back here real quick. Also talk a little bit about, let me see if we've seen much of a change, but we again have those hurricane warnings now in effect for pretty much all of Louisiana. So we do have the hurricane warnings in effect right now. So again, hurricane warnings going effect all the way up through Lake Pontchartrain and parts around New Orleans. So again, things are going to be changing very quickly here. In fact, this morning was totally different when it was just a tropical storm. But now that it has definitely begun to get itself together here, and right now Ida continues to look like it's going to be a major hurricane as it approaches parts of Louisiana. It's going to be a huge problem. So right now is the time you have to get yourself situated with what's going on. Hopefully you've made your plans. A lot of people in Louisiana are used to it. They know what's going on. They have their plans ready. But now is the time you have to execute that plan and do evacuate. If you are mentioned by authorities to make sure you evacuate, please listen to what the authorities have to say, because everybody remembers what happened with Katrina, and unfortunately it was just 10 years ago today, or not today, but it was 10 years. And again, Katrina did make its way on there rapidly. And let me check, actually, with Erica. Erica's one of our latest team members. Was it today that it was Erica, or was that was earlier this week, right, Katrina?
I think it's this week, yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely this week. So yeah, so again, we don't want to be having to deal with the same stuff that they had 10 years ago, unfortunately, in New Orleans. So, but unfortunately, we could be dealing with this dangerous hurricane. So again, please. I live in Central Florida. I've seen plenty of problems with hurricanes. I've seen plenty of hurricanes myself. I've been through them. They are not fun. They are not great. They are not fun to watch. They don't.
Is Sunday.
It's Sunday. Okay, it's Sunday. Oh, thank you for looking that up. Erica looked that up for me. I appreciate that. And she just started working with us too, and she's like, "What have I gotten myself into?" And thank you very very much for your help, because we're going to need a lot of help, and a lot of people are going to need a lot of help as we continue our way in through this weekend. And again, especially if it's ironic and horrible at the same time that it would be the 10-year anniversary of Katrina. So it's one of those things that I actually get kind of, sorry, got choked up a little bit about that. However, you have got to, be very careful. Just be careful about what's going on. As I mentioned, okay, back to just concentrating on what's going on. Here, it's down near Cuba right now. We have time. Make sure you are doing everything you possibly can to keep you, your family, your friends, everybody, your neighbors, especially the elderly. Make sure you guys have plans to evacuate. If you're called to evacuate, if you are going to be staying where you are, make sure you have all the supplies you need, because it could be many, many days that you will be out of water, you will be out of power, you are going to have a lot of problems out there. So a lot of problems going on. So again, we are going to be with you all weekend long. I wanted to kind of alert you to where we have gone from. Boy, it was a category 3, and we were already saying how bad it was. At 5 o'clock, it was up to a category 4 possibly. And again, this could be changing as we go through the rest of tonight and into tomorrow. So tonight is the night. Make sure you have everything ready. Tomorrow, please pay attention to what's going on. We will be having updates out there. We'll be having live times also where we can just sit here and chat about it. We'll be picking up a lot of questions also on that. So again, right now it's far enough away that you have time to get ready. But as it gets closer, we're going to be concentrating on more specific things, such as where the evacuations are and things like that. So for now, I wish you the best. Have a good time tonight, whatever you have planned, whatever you're doing, because you are not going to be having fun this weekend. You are going to have to be doing some work, and that's keeping yourself and everybody else safe out there. So stick around. Don't forget, on all of our social medias and stuff like that, we're going to be updating people constantly, keeping you informed. And again, I'll be giving you updates. Mike will give you updates. Eric will be giving you updates also throughout the weekend. So you will be able to kind of stay tuned to what's going on, and we'll keep you updated and try to keep you as safe as we can. Until then, we'll take care.